Project UX, the UX show for startups.
vImmune is the best cognitive immunization management app, which has been designed with user experience in mind. The app is HIPAA compliant. It lets families track up to 9 additional family members, all for free, and we are currently live in US and as well as in India. Let's get straight into the vImmune app. We created the app with the CDC's immunization chart. If you see at the top section, it's broken down in 3 age groups, birth to 6 years, 7 to 18, and 19 plus, all the way to 65. You can swipe left to right to move through the age groups, or you can move right to left, either ways. You can see that the user, Ashley, has total 3 members. You can swipe left to right, and on the background, you'll see how the name changes. For users training, once the app is launched for the first time, there's also a gesture guide. You can browse through that. It gives you all the prompts, what the app is all about, and how to use it. If you scroll from top to bottom, there's a question mark that pops up. You click on it, and it explains what these different bubbles are and how you track your immunization data within the app. So let's go ahead and try to press on one of the bubbles. And you can see for chickenpox, for example, there are 2 doses. You can select one, select the dose administration date. If you want to add some notes, that's optional, your doctor's information, for example, and you can click Save. Once you do that, the bubble turns green. On the bottom menu, you'll see a knowledge center. You can click on the immunization guide, how to do pain management for a baby. You can just swipe left to right to move across sections. If you go under My Family, you can just click on or tap on the plus button and continue to add new family members. If you go under My Records, you will see Ashley's records are listed. She could just click on this small arrow on the top. It collects all the short history that Ashley has recorded within the app, produces a PDF file, which you can fax or email to the school, daycare, or to the university, whatever the case may be.
From just the standpoint of what you focused on in the demo, there's a saying by John Wooden, the famous basketball coach, never mistake activity for achievement. And in a similar way, a lot of what you decided to touch on were ways that you can gesture right or left, or how you can swipe or slide through different things. But I didn't necessarily see a lot of things being accomplished. And obviously it's a demo, but one thing that I would really recommend from a user experience standpoint, the user experience of the interface as well as the user experience of the demo, is to focus on situations that people find themselves in where they are finding your product to be really relevant. And so, for example, if I'm in a new city and I need to find a restaurant, I'm like, Yelp is just the thing. And so that's a situation that I'm in. I remember there was like a globe or a person and it said no fiction, only science. And I was like, this could go anywhere. Like this might be storytelling or journalism or who knows what's going to follow. So one really strong recommendation would be to focus on one of the most important and emotional situations that someone could find themselves in which this would be kind of a figurative or literal lifesaver, and connect with people on that as much as possible, and really focus your marketing copy especially around that.
There's a particular story I would like to quote on that one, this last. So my elder brother, he's a radiologist. He and his wife, both are doctors. They're supposed to be very knowledgeable about vaccinations, but what happened is they were not able to keep track of records. So they ended up getting the same shot to their elder son twice, just because they wanted to be sure.
And let me help you with some very specific and tactical things you could do. So what I heard Samuel saying is, tell me a story. You didn't tell us a story. Okay? You told us features and you showed us how the thing worked and gestures, but we needed a story for context. And I didn't really understand the purpose of this app until you showed me the PDF. And all of a sudden I went, oh, this actually has some usefulness. I can get these records over to my school. So I got it, but that was pretty deep into the thing, right? The Genesis story that you just told, great. That's a great story to help us set the context of use. So if you're not familiar with Cooper's goal-directed design, I strongly urge you to take a look at that. Kim Goodwin's design for the digital world is essentially a cookbook, and in there is this notion of writing stories about the future. And one of the things that does, as Samuel pointed out, is it not only helps you with your marketing messaging, but it's going to actually drive a lot of your interface design as well. So when I look at this interface, it looks pretty pediatric to me. It looks like you're going after kids, not adults. And that may be a choice, but I'm not getting a sense of its robustness. I'm not quite sure what your posture is with respect to this app. It has huge utility. You've demonstrated its utility, and it may have huge usefulness with respect to records keeping. But when I look at this, it really feels like a child's game. And that's fine, but it may not be working in concert with your strategy or with your initial intentions. So I would ask you to start thinking about other visualizations, however. For example, it might be interesting to show a comparative visualization of Ashley and Aaron and Anne and Jim or whatever, and begin to see how, as a family, we're doing in some kind of aggregate visualization, but not merely as a visual report, like you're doing for the PDF, which is kind of a dead-end cul-de-sac, but actually creating that as the interface. So when I look at this thing, I can go, oh, there's a huge gap in Ashley's vaccination, and I can click on that, and boom, I'm ready to go right there. So it gives me information that I need to know because there's gaps, and it allows me to take action right there in situ.
That's definitely on our release roadmap. So what we plan to do is take CDC's chart and all the recommended shots and overlay your dependence data on top of it in color-coded ways, so you have a visual way of recognizing what did I miss.
People will hate that. I'm sorry, but most people do not like reading charts. And I love charts. I love them more than anyone, but the problem is you have to decipher them. Now compare that with perhaps offering somebody a screen where each one of their family members is represented by an avatar. And if somebody's getting close to needing a shot, that avatar turns yellow. And if they've missed it, it turns red, and there's an exclamation point. You go in, it lists what they need to do. When you click on one of them, or tap on one of them, as it were, the latest CDC information about that pops up. If there's an update about one of those, like the HPV is there, if the CDC publishes something, instead of hiding that in the Knowledge Center, which very few people will read, they're going to go to WebMD if they really care. They're going to go to WebMD. But you want to provide that in context. So if I'm thinking about getting HPV for my daughter, and I see that HPV vaccine on her chart, if there's an update about that, it should be reflected. There should be an alert next to it so that I can see just in time what I need to know from the CDC.
One of my favorite tests to conduct as a usability or as a user experience designer is called an expectancy test. And instead of like lurking over someone's shoulder and asking them, you know, to go through a series of workflows or whatever that might be, it's just to actually like even print out a screen and just put it in front of them on a piece of paper and ask them to circle everything that they think is tappable in this case. And it's revealing in a number of ways. One is if they don't circle things that are tappable, then that's a usability issue as far as visibility and intuitiveness is concerned. And if they do circle things that aren't tappable, ditto. But where it gets really interesting is where you then have them go through everything that they've circled and ask them to tell you what they expect will happen when they tap on it. And I can tell you just from my standpoint of having been walked through this product, there's a lot of there isn't a lot of certainty as far as I'm concerned regarding what would happen. A, what is tappable and what isn't, and B, what will happen when that is. So for example, DTAP has two white rectangles next to it. If I tap on one of those, does it get a D, does it get an S, or a circle of some sort? Let's find out. Oh, okay, so this pops up. So like, yeah, so I mean, you know, just, oh, go ahead.
So the immunization as a chart is really complex. Companies have tried and failed. So this is straight from CDC's chart,
okay,
which people refer into. So that's why we try to keep it same as what CDC recommends versus adding our own layers on.
Yeah, I hear you on like the fidelity of the information that you're providing. I'm just saying that the hinting that you're giving users, and again, it's not like, it doesn't really matter what I think or how well I can guess it, but if you just got in 10 people who either off the street or who are particularly representative of your user base and ask them that same question, if you ask them what happens when you tap on Hep A, or you know, what happens when you tap on the grid at the top, the hamburger menu at the top right, not a huge signal, a lot of signal there. So that's really something to look at. That can quickly expose the weakest parts of your interface.
I appreciate you keeping the fidelity of information intact, but once again, who's using this? People who read CDC charts, they wouldn't be using this app if they were, or people who have trouble deciphering all of this stuff, ostensibly your target market.
So Don Norman said if you have to put a sign on it, you've lost the war. So if you have to put a guide on this thing in order to help people understand the gestures, you've already lost. So your design challenge that I'm going to give you is no more guides, no more legends, and no more guides. How can they immediately pick this thing up on first use with minimal extraneous guidance?
Thank you, experts, and let's have a round of applause for vImmune. Thank you,
Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the episode. We'd love to know what you think in the comments below, so like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It means the world to us, and we'll be back soon with more UX content for you coming your way. Until next time.